They were Christians, even Puritans, though at one time that had been a term of mockery used by their enemies. They practiced what they believed was the only true religion, a strictly Bible-based Christianity available to anyone who searched the Scriptures with clear eyes and a pure heart. The freedom of religion they sought was for themselves, not for others professing different forms or worshipping in different ways. After the death of Queen Elizabeth I, the two pillars of England, the Anglican Church and parliamentary government, were both involved in power struggles in which the royal authority was challenged by dissenting movements. In the political realm, Parliament was in a constant feud with the king over basic rights and an acknowledged voice in government policy. In the religious realm, the Protestantism that Henry VIII had confined within an English version of Roman Catholicism was increasingly opposed by a small but growing number of disparate groups seeking to rid the Anglican Church of all vestiges of organization and rights that could not be found in the Bible, the only source of truth in earthly or heavenly affairs. Some of these who wished a thus purified religion, hence Puritan, had decided that England's state-supported and protected Anglican Church was hopelessly corrupt. They were willing to defy all royal authority and leave the Church to set up their own versions of Christianity, and thus willing, too, to risk fines, prison, or death. Others, also Puritans, were willing to seek reform of the Anglican Church from within. They attended services as the law required and used the new Book of Common Prayer. They supported ministers, though, whose ideas about God's relationship with man and man's ability to receive God's salvation were increasingly different from those of the bishops whose right to rule their churches they ignored. John Winthrop was one of these conforming dissenters. He was the son of a prosperous merchant and landowner, and himself a well-educated lawyer with a minor government position. Like all the dissenters, Winthrop believed that England was on the verge of reaping God's wrath for its flagrant disregard of true Christianity. God's presence in the world was real, constant, and watchful. He had set out the terms of his covenant with man in the Bible, and England was violating that covenant. Its declining status in the world was proof of the coming wrath. The king's friction with Parliament and his increasing disregard for the people's ancient rights was proof, too. There was much talk of moving to the new lands, to the New England, where small settlements of Puritans scraped out an existence, where the true Christians could preserve the faith until they could return to save their country. In 1628, a group of dissenting merchants was granted a charter to settle a large area on the Massachusetts coast, land that included the village of Salem, where there was already a small group of Puritans. The grant was confirmed by royal charter in the spring of 1629. Their name in the charter became the Company of the Massachusetts Bay, and the charter itself was unusual because, unlike all the other such company charters of the time, it did not specify where company meetings had to take place. Through this loophole, a quiet revolution would march. They would move, charter, company, meetings, and all, across the sea and away from the prying eyes of the king and the church.